There is a cardinal in your yard right now who will begin singing this morning before the sun has cleared the horizon, before the light is strong enough to see by, before any insect has moved. And what he is doing in that darkness is something most people who have heard it their entire lives have never been told. Subscribe to Bird Sense right now. This is exactly the kind of thing we uncover every week. And the real reason your cardinal starts singing before you can even see him, that is what changes everything about how you hear it. To understand what he is actually doing at 4 a.m., you have to understand what the dawn chorus is built for. The dawn chorus is not a celebration. It is not a response to light. It is one of the most energetically expensive and strategically complex behaviors a songbird performs all year. And it happens in the dark, before sunrise, for reasons that have nothing to do with the sun coming up. Here's where it gets strange. Research on dawn chorus timing has found that many bird species begin singing well before there is enough light to support normal daytime activity, before they can forage effectively, before they can see predators clearly, before the acoustic conditions of the day have settled. The window of pre-dawn darkness, from roughly 4 a.m. to first light, is in many ways the most dangerous time for a small bird to be making noise. It cannot see what is hunting it. It has not eaten since the evening before. Its energy reserves are at their lowest point of the day. And yet, this is precisely when the singing is loudest, most complex, and most sustained. Which means the cardinal you hear before sunrise has been telling you something you were never taught to read. The cardinal in your yard is not singing because conditions are good. He is singing because conditions are specifically, deliberately difficult, and that difficulty is the entire point. The darkness is not the backdrop, it is the stage, and the performance running on it every morning before you wake up is one of the most precisely calculated things happening in your yard. Every phrase, every repetition, every moment he chooses to keep singing instead of stopping, all of it is information broadcast at the exact moment it costs the most to produce. The dawn chorus exists primarily as a signal, not to humans, not to the world in general, to other birds, rivals, potential mates, neighbors, who are listening from their own perches in the pre-dawn dark. And the content of that signal is not joy, it is information. Specifically, it is information about condition. A bird that can sing a full, complex, sustained song at 4 a.m. in near darkness, on an empty stomach, after a night of cold and predator risk, is broadcasting something very specific to every other bird in earshot. It is broadcasting that it survived the night, that it is in good enough physical condition to spend energy on song right now before it has eaten anything, before the day has given it anything back, that its immune system, its fat reserves, its overall fitness are sufficient to absorb this cost and keep singing. Which means the bird outside your window right now is not greeting the morning. He is making a case, a biological argument, broadcast into the dark every single morning. And the cardinal at your feeder has been making that case since before you woke up. The research on this is precise, and it runs deeper than most people expect. Studies on dawn chorus participation across multiple songbird species have found that the complexity, duration, and timing of a male's dawn song are directly correlated with his physical condition. Birds in better condition begin singing earlier, further into the pre-dawn darkness, when the energetic cost is highest, and the signal is therefore most credible. Birds that are stressed, depleted, or carrying a high parasite load begin later, sing shorter sequences, and produce less complex phrases. The darkness is not incidental, it is the mechanism. A song performed when visibility is low and energy reserves are depleted cannot be faked the way a midday song could. The pre-dawn window is when the signal is hardest to produce, and therefore most honest. A bird who sings well in that window is not just performing, he is proving something that cannot be performed without the underlying condition to back it up. But researchers found something they didn't expect. Female birds are not passive listeners to this broadcast. Research has documented that female songbirds make active assessments of male dawn song quality using the timing, complexity, and consistency of the pre-dawn performance as a primary indicator of mate quality. A male who begins singing at 4 a.m. and sustains complex song through first light is advertising something a female can evaluate from a distance in the dark without any direct interaction. The song is the data. The pre-dawn darkness is what makes that data credible. This means the cardinal you hear every morning before you can see anything out your window is engaged in one of the most high-stakes performances of his year. Not a greeting, an audition, a fitness display, broadcast into the dark to every bird within half a mile, sustained for as long as his condition allows. There is a second layer to the dawn chorus that most people never hear about, and it changes what the sound means entirely. Beyond mate assessment, the dawn chorus serves a critical territorial function, and the specific timing of when a male begins singing relative to his neighbors is not random. It is a negotiation. Research on territorial songbirds has documented what happens in the pre-dawn window between neighboring males. Each bird's singing position, timing, and song type is being monitored by the birds around it. A male who begins singing earlier than his neighbors from a position that projects clearly into their territories is asserting something. A male who falls silent while a neighbor sings, or who begins later, or whose song complexity drops, is conceding something. The cardinal at your feeder is not just broadcasting to potential mates. He is in active real-time negotiation with every other cardinal within earshot. The pre-dawn darkness is when that negotiation runs at its most intense, before the day's activity creates noise and distraction, when sound carries farthest and clearest, when the acoustic landscape belongs entirely to the birds willing to use it, which means on a quiet morning, when you hear a cardinal singing before 4 a.m. and nothing seems to be happening. Out there, something is happening. The negotiation is running. The broadcast is live. The assessments are being made in real time between birds you cannot see from your window. Individual birds have signature dawn songs, not just species-typical calls, but individual variations, specific phrase sequences, timing patterns, and acoustic structures that are consistent enough across days and seasons that neighboring birds learn to identify them. The cardinal your neighbor hears from their yard, and the cardinal you hear from yours are not interchangeable voices. They are individuals with recognizable signatures, and the birds around them know the difference, and what happened next is the part nobody talks about. Research on individual recognition in territorial songbirds has found that neighbors learn each other's songs over time and respond differently to familiar versus unfamiliar singers. A male cardinal who hears a familiar neighbor's dawn song at the expected time and volume responds with less escalation than he would to the same song from a stranger. The familiarity itself carries information. This is a known quantity, a mapped neighbor, a boundary that has been established and is being maintained, rather than challenged. This means the dawn chorus you hear outside your window every morning is not just a broadcast into the void. It is a conversation between specific individuals who have learned each other's voices, who know where each bird is positioned, and who are updating their assessment of the neighborhood every single morning before the sun comes up. The cardinal whose song you have been hearing from the same tree every spring is not just a cardinal. He is a known voice in a mapped conversation that has been running for years. And every morning at 4 a.m., he takes his position and begins his broadcast. Surviving the night confirmed, condition advertised, territory asserted, neighbors assessed, before the light comes up and the rest of the world begins to move. Most people spend years listening to this and never know what they are hearing. And you have been sleeping through most of it. Tell me in the comments, have you ever woken up to the dawn chorus and stopped to actually listen? Is there a specific bird you hear from the same spot every morning? Did you know it was the same individual? I want to hear about it. I read every single one. Subscribe to BirdSense. And if you want to understand what the cardinal in your yard has been calculating about you every time you step outside, that video is right there waiting for you.